Somebody is listening. This is a distress call from university. My meeting was so loose. It seemed that they finally decided they wanted help with the sinkhole situation. I wasn't going to deny the request. I needed help too. This was something bigger than the both of us alone, but we thought perhaps together we could do this. I made my way back to that same decrepit building, 1508 Tomsby Street. On my route, I passed sinkhole C. It had expanded at least 3 times in size since I last saw it. There were Vote Inc. posters on every single cone, barrier and plank that was attempting to ward people away. The posters had fine print, which also read, "Or don't, it's okay either way." It is clear they still have not truly understood the concept of a campaign. When I finally reached the building, I knocked just as I did the time before, albeit with a little more confidence, if anything. Instead of peering through the door, Solus returned my same confidence, opening the door wide, with another one of their smirks beginning to crawl across their face. They hurried me into a room I had seen just the other day, yet in such a short time, I felt like everything there had shifted. Instead of Solus's menacing setup, papers were stacked across all 4 walls, with seemingly no coordination. Yet each paper was vigorously connected by a red string, collected under different headings such as government, city, and agency. I began to question Solus where this all was. They interrupted me with a simple answer of fake walls. As I took every bit of evidence in, I noticed the most empty part of the wall, the papers with the heading sinkholes. As I approached the wall, I realised Solus was truly on the same level as me. All there was to occupy the wall was the same CCTV footage eye monitors of the sinkholes. I recognised all of them immediately. Sinkholes A to E. It was then that I realised in the corners of each image was A, then B, then C, and that each sinkhole had been labelled precisely the same I labelled them. I laughed at the coincidence and turned to face Solus to tell them the news. But they just looked back at me, with this cold expression that drove across their face. Staring back at me without even a slither of humour in their tone, Solus started to say, "Oh, I wonder why that is, old sport." You should have seen my face. Oh my, old sport, Solus really got me there. I was so scared. I had led myself into their space, straight into the lion's den. I started writing my will as soon as they said it. Old sport. In that moment, I finally realised what was on the desk. Among the stacks of paper and several monitors, behind it all was this small little device. It was then that I finally noticed the soft noise of static that lingered in the silence. I was still too shocked to say anything. Instead, I just stared, until Solus finally followed my gaze and laughed, picking up the device and fully extending its antenna. The static gets louder. All I could say was, "It's a radio." Solus looked at me as if I was a child. People seem to do that a lot in the city. Perhaps that's why I always wear a suit. Yet, it never helps anyone to finally take me seriously, does it? Sorry, I digress, old sport. Solus has a radio. That's really what this meeting was about. But instead of simply just telling me, they of course had to pull that stunt. They said they had a radio for quite a while. In fact, they also flipped for the frequencies quite often. They said they couldn't remember when they first heard me, but they've been listening ever since. They didn't realise who I was when I first went to confront them. It's funny, really. They said they truly didn't know until they heard me directly talking about them. Maybe this is a sign that I should be using codenames for everyone, and not just myself. Maybe one day I'll get on that. Bigger cyborgs to fry, no? That's when they sent me this letter. They had decided to begin to look into all the sinkholes because I inspired them to. They knew all that they knew because of my calls. Perhaps, then, maybe there are more people listening. Perhaps Perhaps I can finally create a team, maybe not of heroes per se, but people who care, people who know the ins and outs of the city, the truth behind its constricting walls. Hell, I know we're gonna need more people, and God can only help me if I need to work with Solus alone. What? What is it this time? Stop talking about me, Solus. Okay, seriously, how did they get there so fast? Solus, you know you're only proving my point, right? I hope you can still hear me. You've got to be kidding me. Is it weird that I still think about you all the time, February? I suppose I haven't been very good at hiding it, have I? But despite everything going on in the city right now, still, there is yet a day to go by where I haven't thought of you. When I first arrived in the city, everything reminded me of you. I would see a simple street lamp and start to remember our nightly performances. We were so young. The empty road was our stage with nothing but the houses of sleeping neighbours as our audience. We danced underneath the street lamp like it was our own personal spotlight. I would see a bright yellow car and hit my own arm each time, now that yours was no longer there to pester. I stopped when I realised the city was one big loop. I don't know how long ago that was now. I look up to the sky, and before I saw you up there, February, I just talked about you. I told the stars about you, and now it is where you reside. Despite that, despite not seeing you in everything anymore, February, it's as if you've infected my mind like a parasite, and some days I can't help but hate you for it. I never wanted to hate you. I don't hate you. I don't know what's wrong with me. Perhaps I will just pretend that this is another symptom of a disease that must be killing me. It's either myself or the city, February. My demise will have nothing to do with you. In fact, if something does happen to me, February, no matter what, it was never because of a single. Never. Do not let anyone think that I would. Now, Solus, this is my one time. Who is February, by the way? So, not right now. Solus, not ever. Actually, I need to put up some boundaries. For myself and these stupid singles, for that matter. When will the city ever allow me a